Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Life Overhaul podcast. Today I'm Julie Nygaard, host of the show, and I'm also the author of a book called Life Overhaul, What Are You Waiting For? And generally what I do on this podcast is interview people who have gone through significant life overhauls so they can share their tips and tricks and techniques and the things that they did to manage their way through it, or maybe they're going through it and what they're doing. And I started this whole thing because I myself am also going through a major life overhaul. But really, I think a lot of people are, especially right now with the pandemic and people reevaluating their lives and thinking about what am I really doing? Am I happy? So I decided in this series that I'm going through right now to read my book chapter by chapter so that you can listen to it if you don't want to buy it. But the main thing is, if you're going to do that, have a notebook handy, because there are a lot of exercises that we do or things you might want to jot down, because you do have to do something different if you want a different life. I think that, the old saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Well, you have to change your actions in order to change your life. So this book kind of guides you through it and explains or gives you some ideas on what you might want to do. So today's chapter 5, is called Talk Yourself into Success. And you know how they say you teach what you need to learn? I have to say this is definitely the case for me on this one, because I always thought I was good with the positive self-talk. No, not while I was writing this chapter. In fact, I think it's a continual metamorphosis. So even if you think you're really good with, I'm really encouraging to myself and I'm positive, just take a moment to listen to the words and see if there's something that might be hiding inside of you that's keeping you from getting what you want. So here we are, chapter 5 in my book, Life Overhaul. What are you waiting for? What is talking to yourself exactly? You've heard it, a little voice in your head that always seems to be going. And unfortunately, it's usually berating you. Here are a few examples of negative self-talk. You're such an idiot. Why did you say that? You ate that again? You have no discipline. Why aren't you working out? You're so lazy. You should work harder, then you'll be more successful. You can't do it because your dad was a loser and you're just like him. You just don't try hard enough. You're weak. If you were prettier, more people would like you. You're not rich enough. You'll never get what you want. You're too tall. No one will ever date you. You're too short. You can't be an athlete. How many of these or other degrading phrases have you said to yourself? How many do you say in a day? Before I started writing this book, I was unaware of how I berated myself. But something happened for me in the process of writing that changed the game. I finally started to truly listen to the way I talk to myself. I was all bubblegum and roses on the outside, but my inner self constantly berated me. Having awareness of the pattern helped me get rid of it. Let's say you want to learn how to play the piano, but you haven't played for years and you find yourself struggling. Maybe it's hard to remember what you've learned or make sense of music theory, or your fingers just won't go to the right places. You might be saying things like, I'm such an idiot. I'll never get it. Why am I even trying this at my age? Wouldn't it be so much easier if I were younger? You may not even be saying these things out loud. Your inner self-talk is handling it for you. It doesn't matter which task you're attempting, whether it's your life overhaul, learning a new language, attempting a new skill, or doing anything else. Chances are fairly high that you're engaging in some serious self-berating. Once you start monitoring your thoughts, you might even find that the self-badgering extends to other areas of your life, like your weight, your self-confidence, the way you look, or anything else you might be unhappy about. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you like yourself? Do you love yourself? Like many people, perhaps you've never been taught to develop a habit of being grateful for what is right about yourself. Instead, you just cut yourself down bit by bit every day without realizing it. It's not that you do it intentionally, you just never learned how to talk to yourself nicely. Where does all this negative self-talk come from? Most likely from parents, teachers, friends, and anyone else who's ever tried to, quote, help you by offering their limited opinions. You may have been pre-programmed so deeply with false beliefs that you don't even realize it. At least now you have a starting point. The first step is to become aware of exactly what you're currently doing. What are you saying to yourself? How often are you saying it? In what area of your life is negative self-talk the worst? Once you catch yourself, change your words to something more positive. Don't treat yourself like a bad child. Instead, change your view and see yourself as a work in progress. Be patient, be encouraging, and be a coach guiding your body into achieving what you want with loving support. Here are 2 more examples of negative self-talk. Why can't I sing when I love singing so much? What's wrong with me? No matter what I do, I can't lose weight. It's not possible for me to be lean because of genetics. Now, write down 7 examples of your own negative self-talk. You'll be writing the phrases into positive form in just a few pages. So take a moment, write those down, and then turn the podcast back on when you're done. When you start paying close attention to how you talk to yourself, it gives you the power to stop the madness. Once you're aware that you're doing this, step 2 is understanding that most of your current belief systems were put into your mind by someone else. If you disagree, just consider where your thoughts came from, if not from someone else. In fact, if all of your thoughts came from you, wouldn't you be doing exactly what you want to do? To put it another way, if you were doing all the programming, you wouldn't put anything in that limits you. You'd most likely give yourself whatever it takes to achieve what you want. That's why limiting beliefs and negative thoughts didn't come from you. They come from someone else or society or politics or negative experience that you've now internalized. If someone told you you're not good enough time and again as you were growing up, eventually you'd embrace that thought as your own idea. Then you would attract experiences to validate that belief. If you heard, "You'll never amount to anything," hundreds of times throughout your life, it's now programmed to be a part of who you are, even if it's hidden. If someone praised you when you did well, but then always added, "Next time you can do better," you're never going to believe that what you're doing is enough. Your self-talk will always be something like, "You could have done better," or "Even though you achieved that dream, it's not really that great." The bad news is that you're pre-programmed with limiting beliefs that have kept you from becoming everything you want to be. But the good news is that because you've been pre-programmed, you can deprogram and then reprogram yourself using a little discipline and a strategy for change. Now take a minute to look back at your list of negative self-talk items and reword them as if you were a parent giving loving support to a child trying to learn something. Here are some of the changes to the examples from earlier for singing and weight loss. Learning to sing is a skill. It takes time and effort, and I'm getting better every day. I choose to truly commit, and I keep going until I get the results I'm looking for. I will love weighing 135 pounds. Every day I eat healthy foods that help me to get to my ideal body weight. I embrace the challenge of seeing how well I can eat each day. Now, back to the negative self-talk that you just wrote. Rewrite your own negative self-talk phrases into positive phrases. Take a moment, turn off the podcast, do it. You have to do it while you're going. I feel like if you don't stop and do it, you'll just plow through it and then get on to the next thing and never make that change. So it's important. So be patient with yourself. Keep in mind that it took a lifetime of negative talk and negative reinforcement to establish the beliefs you have. So it's going to take some time to get them to change. Every now and then, something converts instantly, but most thoughts need to be guided over and over into positive territory until they start coming in on their own. You'll know when you're succeeding because you'll see extraordinary changes happening in your life. Chapter 3, the one about how to hijack your subconscious mind, is also helpful for figuring out how to program positive self-talk as well. So if you haven't listened to that chapter yet, take a minute, go back, listen to it, because that's going to help you. Learning how to engage in continuous positive and encouraging self-talk reinforces self-hypnosis and vice versa. So using both techniques together can give you faster results. If you start by using a self-hypnosis recording aimed at increasing self-esteem and self-worth, anything you're trying to achieve will happen faster. Once your subconscious mind gets on board with your new program, the negative self-talk will quit surfacing. And even if it does come up, you can change it right away. You can also use affirmations or autosuggestions, which is the process of repeating the same phrase over and over again. To truly succeed, it's important to take time to be fully present. It's easy to repeat a phrase without any meaning. But an affirmation, when done properly, invokes a feeling. It's not just words repeated in a meaningless tone. When you become present, you focus on the words, imagine what it would feel like if the words were true, and then let your body experience the emotions of having that reality. It's the same technique as mind training, but you're using a repetitive phrase instead. Using the 2 previous examples again, the new self-talk phrases might look like this. I'm one of the world's greatest jazz singers. I love singing all over the world in beautiful outdoor venues with the best musicians in the world. And when you say it, close your eyes and feel it, see it, hear the crowds, feel the breeze on your face. Here's the one for weight loss. I love being healthy, a healthy body weight, feeling energetic, and doing all the activities I enjoy with ease. When you say this, feel yourself walking along with the spring in your step. Feel the pride of having achieved a goal and breathe deeply with self-gratitude and joy. Now, get your notebook out and write down 7 affirmations or auto-suggestions for yourself. Use words that will invoke the same feelings in your body as if your affirmations were already true. So take a moment, stop the podcast, and write those 7 things down. Your positive auto-suggestions that you're going to say to yourself on a regular basis. Ideally, you would read the list in the morning and every night to remind yourself of the belief system that you're working to create. Just like with the goal-setting activities in Chapter 2, create your mindset, then focus on it every morning and every night, and it will become your reality. That's all there is to it for Chapter 5. Not too difficult. It's basically just catching yourself, right? When you're talking bad about yourself or to yourself. And you don't even have to be talking to anyone to do it. That's what I don't like about it. You're stuck with yourself. And if you're mean to yourself, you have to stop that. It's a choice. The key is to become aware of it and then change it. Whatever you're trying to do in your life, whether it's just a minor overhaul or a major overhaul, I truly do wish you success. And I hope this podcast and my book, Life Overhaul, can help you succeed. I know that it can be hard. I've done my own life overhauls a couple of times. I'm in the middle of another one right now. And it's challenging and it takes time. And I really thought I was just going to blast out of one life and into another. But you kind of phase out of your old life and into your new one. So it does take time and patience and perseverance. But for me, and I've said this pretty much every podcast, I'm more afraid to stay in the same place than I am to venture into something new. I just think life is a metamorphosis and we should continue to change, hopefully for the better. And again, thanks for tuning in today. I'm Julie with Life Overhaul Podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode.